Discussing this vital topic on the 2023 general election, the insecurity question, I have brilliant guests, analysts with me physically in the studio. And starting from my extreme left, I have the president of the Association for Formidable Education and Development, and education is to the core, and he is a public affairs analyst, a social media influencer, Osage Godsent Erunse. Thanks for joining me, Osage.
Thank you, Phil, for having me. Good morning, viewers. It's a pleasure.
And next to him, I have a political analyst. It would be wrong to call him a political scientist, who always have the opportunity to really dissect and analyze issues of such nature on air with me always. And he is Frank Ehiosun. Thanks for joining me, Frank. All right, the topic is on the 2023 general election, like I did say, the insecurity question. You agree with me that Nigeria is on a crossroad. You know, we've been having this significant peace and security challenges, and some say, well, those challenges are enough to destabilize the run-up to the 2023 general election. Some say, well, politicians seem not to be prioritizing security over the 2023. I choose to start with you, Osage. What are your thoughts?
Anyway, Phil, you see, the issue of security has become like a daily discourse. And what really concerns me is the fact that the more we tend to talk about it and find possible way to address or tackle this issue, the more it seems the situation is getting worse. And you begin to ask yourself a whole lot of questions, because no guesswork or assumption can solve the insecurity problem. I mean, there are a lot of public discourse along this line. And what we have thought over time is, should government have listened to some of these fine presentations, possibly we'll begin to find a headway. Because at the time, what we were told is the military are not well equipped, they don't have enough gadgets. But severally we have said that it goes beyond the ammunition. We also have to look at the personnel, the motivation of the personnel, their psychology, the way they think, and also taking into consideration intelligence and internal sabotage. Now, presently, I don't think the military are going to be saying they still don't have enough weaponry, at least to a large extent. We have seen over the years the budgetary allocation for weaponry, and we have also seen the various, jet and Tucano, whatever that have arrived this country. But to date, we are still seeing a very dicey situation. Now, when you talk about the 2023 election, for me, it's very dicey. It is very fearful to say that we might have an election, or it is likely going to be possible. Let's take the case of Anambra, that the just concluded election in Anambra State. If you look at some of the analysis that the CDD did, the Center for Democracy, they did on that election, you will notice that over a consecutive period of time, there have been a decline in voters. I mean, there was a massive voters apathy.
Yeah, voter apathy.
Why? Traceable to the security threat. Before then, there were all kinds of permutation on security issues. And one time I was looking at the brief on the election. One of the INEC officers was asked what went wrong with some of the technical issues that was experienced. He said at dying minutes, a lot of you core members, INEC or ad hoc staff that have been trained for the election, pulled out on the ground of insecurity. Their parents were warning them and telling them, no, you can't. They had to ask their words to pull out, and they now had to just use any available hands. That was one of the defense they were giving. Now that tells you the extent that insecurity can tell or affect an election. So this is where we are. A lot of people are afraid. The security situation in this country have gotten worse, from bad to worse. If there's even English to use for any better word for that, it has gotten really worse. Now we are not just fighting with Boko Haram. We are having the issue with the secessionists, those that are agitating for their own country. We are having the issue of banditry. Farmers' herders crisis is still there. It's still with us presently. Now, the new narrative is our military personnel are now being attacked, you know, and even for our military personnel, there is this kind of fear. Then you now talk on the motivation on the part of the military personnel. Our case is quite compounded until something is done urgently to arrest the situation. In fact, it's very fearful to be thinking or talking about an election.
Well, I think that's the reason for hitting this road this morning, looking at the need to really look at issues on how they can be straightened in order to make the polity better for it. But what's your opinion in this? Do you also have the fear that it could be a threat to the 2023 polls? Frank?
Of course I do.
Oh.
That's a fear I think everybody entertains. Anybody that doesn't entertain that fear is not appreciating the fundamentals of reality as we have it presently. That is the truth. It wasn't as damning as this in 2015. As at that time, it was just territorial, some part of the northeast region, one of the geopolitical zones in the country. And because of the impact of the crisis at that time from the Boko Haram divide there, Jonathan had to seek for 6 weeks extension of the elections. It was moved from February to, I think, 28th of March. And it didn't just end at that. He had to import about 300 or so mercenaries from South Africa and one or two other places to come and anchor the fight to dislodge the Boko Haram insurgents. So, but presently, this security is widespread. There is no geopolitical zone that is exempted, even if it's more intense at some point. And so, in my opinion, yes, it would have quite some impact. The way government takes requisite steps to checkmate the increase in this trend of insecurity will determine how or if the election will hold.
Okay.
I believe it will hold. I'm hopeful that the fact that it will hold. But hope does not bring about anything. There is no nation or individual that hope has changed. It is action taken to vitalize hope that makes things happen. So that's why I said we are in hope. But we'll look at the actions that government will take to ensure that things take the right track.
Okay. We also have this issue where some say, well, police reforms, reforms in the army will help strengthen this instability in the country, while others are saying that, well, we've gone past this stage. Apart from reforms, there's need to bring about a social contract, build a social contract in the country that will bring about jobs for the young people and opportunities also to make them have a stake in a prosperous Nigeria. What do you make of this? Because I think beyond the police reform and the army, of course, there are issues of interest that the government should be looking into to have a very various social contract.
Let me quickly say that reforms does not just take effect without some basic fundamentals. You know, for me, irrespective of the reforms you are going to do in the military architecture, it's not really going to solve the issue of, for example, motivation, the issue of our current psychology. You see, in the minds of the average Nigerian, Nigeria does not really exist. And that's the reason why, over time, what you see in the political sector is that some politicians play on that intelligence to further divide us. Now, you just take an example of the presidency slot. The 6 geopolitical regions are all struggling for it. And over the years, in time past, you see a situation where when a region does not get it, there is so much agitation. Somebody is coming up to tell you, I'll make this country ungovernable. Things are not going to happen because I didn't get it. And again, you will notice quite often than not that the majority of such tribes seems to tint towards a particular leader, which further divides us. So that's the reason why I said, fundamentally, in the minds of the average Nigerians, does Nigeria really exist as a single entity? And that's the reason also for the secessionists. Because
that seems to be affecting patriotism.
That, of course, that is the issue. There's so much, there's so much foul play in the system where that's why every now and then you see a region saying we are marginalized. Every now and then you see everybody crying for federal character, which ought to be. You see somebody in power that tends to tell you the only people I can trust are the people in government. You see? And which is furthering dividing our togetherness. So there has to be something about social cohesion.
Okay.
We have to begin from there to begin to look at, is this a Nigeria or is a tribalistic land?
I think we have to still retrace our history and go to the basics, because this reminds me of this whole issue of the jinx of the third year of a decade that some theories have said that Nigeria has been battling with for over the years, looking at about 70 years for now, from 1953 to date. You are a political analyst, Frank, and you are a graduate of political science, so you know what I'm talking about. Let's look at the aspect where, let's look at the aspect where in 1953, for instance, we had the issue of the Northerners, you know, in hot tussle argument with the Southerners over the independence of the country. And then it didn't stop there. In 1963, we had this issue of population census that almost brought about ethnic rivalry. And it didn't stop there. You know, that built up to the Civil War. And even in 1973, there was another population count. And again, that brought about the population of the Northerners to be about 64.6% of the Nigerian population. That has been taken and inching closely, causing a lot of issues. And even in 1983, we had a military coup, always happening on the third year of a decade. Now, it goes on, and some are scared that, well, 2023, what does it pose? Do you really agree with that theology?
No, that's not theology.
Oh, no, that theory, I mean. A school of thought.
In theology, there is a study that pertains to numbers, which is classified as a pneumatology.
Yes.
But that is more realistic than this cooked up viewpoint, in my opinion.
Okay.
And that's why I wouldn't even.
But it's a jinx. It's a jinx.
It's a jinx. That's why I say it's not a theory.
Okay.
It's a jinx, a cooked up viewpoint. So many things happen.
It's not a theory.
Of course.
But a jinx.
I just affirm that.
Okay.
So that's why I said I wouldn't even pay attention to that at all.
Okay.
Because all those years in question, there were very wonderful things that happened to Nigeria. 1960, for example, we talked about just now. That was when we became a republic. We had our independence in 1960, but we became a republic in 1963. So it could just be mere happenstance that some things happen at some point. It doesn't create any peculiarity concerning those dates.
Okay.
And that is fundamental. I think that a more important issue in our evolution as a nation state, which of course is not peculiar to Nigeria, because Nigeria is not the first or the last or the only nation state.
Okay.
The trend in the sphere of Homo sapiens are peculiar. They are not so different. So the way we go about it is actually what makes the difference. The prime factor is that sense of justice. From time immemorial till date, there is hardly any nation state that has survived that is not placed premium on the concept of social justice, where people see some sense of equality. Now, what is source for the goose is source for the gander. Yeah. So, in all we're talking about, even the reforms that you asked me about a while ago, what is the essence of a reform if it does not reflect a sense of justice? There have been reforms on and on and on, from our independence till date, all through the era of the military. We had the one that Murtala Mohammed did, for example, in 1976, as a military head of state, the 1976 Local Government Reform Act. It was a reform. But did it do any good to the country? No. Before 1976, local government exists as a government, but not a tier of government. It was the 1976 Local Government Reform Act that vitalized local government as a third arm of government. And it's very strange ordinarily to the concept of federalism. Because federalism ordinarily speaks to the existence of two coordinates. There is no school of thought in federalism that explains federalism beyond the concept of coordinate system of government, not triordinate. So Nigeria is a unique case where we now have a triordinate system. In America, we have some states where you have up to 4 different levels. But it doesn't remove the fact that there are 2 fundamental coordinates that enjoy relative equality, which is integral to the concept of federalism. So that's why I said there have been reforms, but on most occasions, the reforms have made matters worse because justice was not central to the process. They call democracy in most phraseologies, they say democracy and rule of law. Primacy is placed on rule of law because democracy cannot exist without the pillar of the rule of law being given the premium of place that it deserves. So I am saying that Nigeria as a country, we are where we are. The trajectory has been so bad from time immemorial till date. Let me just take a little step from this last quarter of the Fourth Republic. Before we started in 1999, we are 22 years old in Fourth Republic. As at 2014, when Buhari began to campaign, he came in 2015. What was inflation in Nigeria in 2015 when he came on board? It was a little more than 8%. What is inflation today? The last figure released by MBS shows that it is increased by more than 100%.
Oh.
As at the time he came in...
So it's not even abating?
Abating? Let me give you further statistics. As at the time he came in, 2015, unemployment was 9.7%. We are not even we are not among the worst 20 in the world.
Okay, but if you are saying that you are pegging it on his emergence, don't you think you'll be wrong? Because I think it goes with global economics.
Global economics. Let's explain global economics at the same time if you want to go by that. As at the time it was 7%, there was global economics. As at the time inflation was 8.1%. There was global economics. It's not 8.1, it was 8.01. There was global economics. Nigeria was also the country. Now, we are number 3 in terms of unemployment in the world. That is when you go by total unemployment ratio, because we are estimated to be 33.3% unemployed, rate of unemployment. But youth unemployment, check MBS, their last statistics. Youth unemployment present in Nigeria is about the worst in the world, 42.5%.
How do we get this narrative changed?
No, you can't change
because
it.
That's the reason why we're here.
No,
because we understand the problems. We know that we are neck deep into it. But how do we get out?
It's action. Not just action, but actions that are exemplary. On and on and on, government takes decisions that make matters worse than where we used to be. Okay, look at security that he referenced just now. Buhari came in 2015. Between 2015 and 2021, 6 years, he has bought 36 aircraft for the Nigerian Air Force. The last set that came in was the 12 Tucano jets. 6 came in July, the other 6 came in October. That made it 36. But even when we have these 36, do you not read about when military men complained in headlines that came out a few months back that why they are supposed to be the sovereign force to enforce law in the country, that they are in their base and Boko Haram is able to send drones to come and monitor them? Why they don't know what Boko Haram is doing on their own divide? So there isn't relevant action taken with due diligence, with concise efforts to make impact. That is why we are where we are. So if we want to itemize them, we have to go bit by bit. Buhari made some comment when he came on board. Government takes the bulk of the blame. That is the truth. Because you and I pay taxes. I drive on the road. Let me give you an instance, for example, to just detail the factor or the role that government plays. I was on the road. I was driving. I saw somebody taking one way. I was so pained that this guy was infringing upon the law. And I slowed down and I blocked the person. Now, I can't come down and go and arrest the person. I don't have a uniform I wear by which I want to do any form of enforcement. Who can do that? It's government. Now, in the course of that line of action, after about 5 minutes, even those behind me began to... I became the one that everybody was attacking. You see the point? The guy was driving one way, went about his stuff. That only indicates the fact that the system as it is, the way government is run, incentivizes what is wrong. Does not inspire or motivate people to do the right thing. That's why we are going down, on and on and on, unfortunately.
Well, I think that's quite a very sad narrative, because when you talk about leadership, you know, we also have issues where followers seem not to be giving us a headway in terms of following the policies and laws. You know, he just cited an issue of driving against traffic. And now, let's get to look at it Osagie. Let's look at the way forward, you know, because we look at the issues concerning government and the need for the government to really check the borders, check the proliferation of arms, small arms and weapons. We seem not to be having score points in this direction. How do we hit this?
Let me quickly borrow from what Frank was saying. You see, no nation is run by assumption or guesswork. This is what I mean. Over time in this country, there's this theory in our subconsciousness, which even the religious have also dabbled into. And things will just normalize itself. It will go the same way it came. You know, that has become the current narrative. Don't worry, before 2023 election, somehow everything will just put itself together. That's how we got where we got to today. There's no, where is the action plan? A lot of, now, you should also be aware that out of the about 8 million weapons, illegal weapons in Africa, Nigeria have about 70%. That this is an old report, not even a recent report. Now, what has been done to tackle those issues, other than the fact that why innocent and credible Nigerians that have the wherewithal to have weapon legally have been denied weapon? We are seeing the bandits, the Boko Haram, and what have you, having more sophisticated weapon. It's just like Mr. Frank, we were discussing off camera, and he said just recently, we saw one of these guys were interviewing one of these stations. They said, how do you get access to AK-47? He said, just like buying bread. He's a terrorist guy. He said, just like buying bread. Now you now begin to ask yourself, where there is so much sabotage and there is so much impunity, the reason why people will continue to do what they do is because they think they can do anything and get away with it. When people suspect the social justice system or believe that they can override it, irrespective of whatever, then things will go that direction. It's just like, I'm sure we should have all had this experience when you are in a terrible hold-up situation and you just have a one little way for the other side. A military, I had this experience just like 5 days ago. When they are coming with their siren, they will block that only route. Just like on Saturday, I had this experience along Boundary Road in Jari. The only space, now what comes to my psychology? If the enforcers of the law can do this, why should not I, if I have a little connection, or if I have some level of influence? So why shouldn't I? If somebody that should tackle another driver that is blocking the only eye where an oncoming vehicle can pass through, so why shouldn't I do the same? So we are copying, we are learning. See, in leadership,
you're talking about leadership by example.
Yes, by example. In leadership, people don't really hear what you say, but what you do. What you do is more infectious than reading papers and reading theories. So we must now move beyond fine theories, fine policies, good reforms, and develop a robust action plan. And we must, until we promote equality, like what he was saying, in the social justice system, we will always remain where we are. If some persons are allowed to loot and go away with it because they belong to some certain party, then why won't I join that party, loot too, and get away with it? You know, that is exactly our sad reality. That's the reason why no system seems to be working. Even when we are aware that there are so many illicit weapons or illegal weapons in the hands of people that shouldn't be with it, but we can't stop it.
Okay.
Because we don't have a system that works.
Okay, we seem to be on a pendulum swing. We don't know where the swing is going to go next. Now, while we are having this issue of proliferation of small arms and weapons, we're having issue of the Northeast, the terrorist attacks, banditry, kidnappings. It's even difficult sometimes to even pass through the Benin Road to Auchi, for instance. You know, we were sharing this thought even before the show started, and I was saying, how do I embark on that route? Now, let's look at how to tackle this problem headlong. Do you see it as a problem of enforcement of the laws, or you see it as deficiency in policy formulations?
I would first of all situate the situation.
Okay.
You see, no matter how we discuss the issues without pinning it from the root, it will be difficult to properly channel our energies.
Yeah, drive the points, yeah.
Like I affirmed earlier, there is no greater threat to the survival of nation states from the antediluvian era till date than the culture of impunity. Impunity is responsible for the bulk of the security challenges we have in the country today. I make bold to say, even Boko Haram in the northeast we are talking about today was given birth to by impunity. And I can give a small history as to how it happened. In 2003, elections were approaching. There was impunity in the land. Obasanjo was the lord of the manor. He was the C in C and the C in all. And he made reference categorically to the fact that it was going to be like whether do or die, or whatever statement was used on some of such elections. Alimadu Sharif was the governor of Borno State. He knew that if he did not, in quotes, stand well, he could be rigged out. Just like in Lagos State that very year, the first result that was published online showed that PDP won. They wanted to test the waters. Impunity. When they saw that the fire could blow from Lagos and could blow up the entire country, they reviewed it back. In the case of Borno State, Alimadu Sharif didn't want to take chances. And there were some young boys who were very vibrant. And people who are vibrant and driven by religious proclivity, they don't fear even nuclear bomb.
Yeah, of course.
That was what made him to go into an alliance with the late Mohammed Yusuf. It was to ensure that the election was not rigged against him. That was where Boko Haram was betted. After he won the election in 2003, he gave Boko Haram 2 slots of commissioners in his government.
I'm
giving you details.
we can't verify that just now.
Check the papers.
I know we can't do that
Hold
just
on.
now. You know.
Mr. Loom, hold on.
Okay.
He was the commissioner of religious affairs. He was one of those that were killed. He resigned from the government and went back to the Boko Haram folks and told them, he said, look, he spoke in house, of course, told them, the kind of stuff that we say we are fighting against, that's what they do. He went to tell Boko Haram, the commissioner of religious affairs, I'm making reference to, he told Mohammed Yusuf that these guys, all they do is to share money. That was how the bickering commenced between the Boko Haram, the Mohammed Yusuf folks, then they were not called Boko Haram.
Okay.
That's how the bickering began. No, I'm just giving a tragedy to it.
Okay.
Is it not funny that after the military caught Mohammed Yusuf and the other guy, including the commissioner of religious affairs, he was killed too. After they caught him, they handed him over to the police. Where were they taken to in custody? Was it not the government as the Borno State? How come they were killed in cold blood? Nothing happened. When they were killed, Jonathan was the acting president. No action was taken. It was after Boko Haram had that become
formidable
and dangerous 2 years later, 2011. That was when they went to arrest the 2 police officers that were involved in that case. Till tomorrow, what have you heard about it? So I'm telling you that all we are complaining about today are byproducts of impunity. Come to the South. The people you call militants, where did vitalism come from? Was it not when the political class began to align with them to ensure they win the election and not be rigged out? So impunity gave birth to all the stuff we are talking about today. Go to the Southeast. So I'm saying that it's unfortunate that we have leaders who are not schooled in the fundamentals of the evolution of nation states. Yeah. Because if they were, they will know that if you take a step that is to your benefit and we shorten the entire society in not even long run, in the medium term,
okay,
they will take such steps.
But I think it's even beyond that because the issue of governance is quite a very sensitive one. And so they say, uneasy lies the head that wears it.
Uneasy lies the head that wears the crowns in other climes, not in Nigeria. Anybody in government in Nigeria, governor, president, chief executives, they are demigods. The privileges they have, even dictators in other times don't have it. I may go to say, which state in this country do citizens, even through their representatives, have the wherewithal to question how their resources are spent in the state?
Okay.
We simply presume, oh, we did a job, this job, 3.5 billion, talking to 5.2 billion. We can't ask questions. Now, this is impunity. Let me tell you.
Okay, so we're going in the direction of constitutional review in that case to reduce the past.
Let me learn.
Okay.
In the affairs of men, if you study Thomas Hobbes' theory, he titled it the
obedient pattern of life.
Okay. No, it's a very voluminous piece, over 400 pages.
Okay.
The spirit of the laws.
Oh yeah.
It detailed some fundamentals concerning the innate natures of man. Now, man by nature must find expression. Yeah. There is a seed of rebellion in man as a nature. It's just as a few people are able to, by discipline, keep it in check. Not everybody is able to keep it in check. So when government toes the line of impunity and thinks that citizens have no consequence, they live in heaven. The citizens are relegated to the hellish part of hell. It's only a matter of time. That seed of rebellion that is innate in man, we find expression in so many of those people that don't have the discipline to checkmate it. That is where you find people expressing it through banditry, expressing it through kidnapping, and all such stuff. They are byproduct of the failure of the nation state by those who lead the nation state and who are governing.
You've said a lot. You've said a lot. You've said a lot. You spoke about impunity, and actually we know that's another challenge. And
no, coming back to you're talking about insecurity.
Yes. I want you to also look in the direction of reducing the past that seem to overwhelm this.
Let me learn. The former Minister of Interior said, and I quote, Abamoro, he said there are he said there are more than 1,499 illegal entry points into Nigeria. More than 1,499 illegal entry points. Yeah. Then there are 84 legal entry points.
Wow.
Now, those illegal entry points are not banned. They are barely, the entry is barely done there. those that are manned, what is the discipline of enforcement? That is why I told you that impunity has overtaken this nation to the point where even law enforcement is lost to the sands of time.
I think it also requires manpower. It also requires manpower to reject that.
It's not manpower. It is discipline. Albert Sway said a long time ago, he said, example is not one of the major things that influences others. He said, example is the only thing that influences others. And by the fundamentals of sociology, it is a known fact that most citizens in all societies are conformist. So what do they conform to? They conform to the supreme authority. If you go to Christ Embassy, see the average member of the church, who does it aspire to, who does it look like? The pastors, which kind of head do they do? Pastor Chris. Go to winners. Okay. If you hear a winners member talk, you can almost tell in their millions that they go to winners. That sociological rule applies in all spheres of humanity. So when leadership has now showed the example of impunity and anything goes, majority of the citizens, by the law of conformity, follow suit.
Okay, I think we are at the point where we must also look
now,
at deepening the solutions to this problem.
See the funny story. In a nation state with 36 states and federal capital, is it not a medieval show of shame? How many border states do we have? This entry point we are talking about, they are in less than 10 states.
Less than 10 states.
They are not in 20 states. For example, all the states in the southeast, none of them have entry point. The bulk of what you call the southeast is when you go to the Calabar Divide, the Akwa Ibom, you go to the... So there are very few states. Now, if government were functional, is that not supposed to be the priority? You are buying weapons. You are saying you are buying more jets. Why these people can come in and go out the way they like? If you go to the history of these entry points, some of them are special. You will weep for Nigeria.
All right, thank you for that articulation.
That leads directly to Sudan. Before the era of this aircraft stuff, they used to take that route to go to their sojourn in Saudi Arabia, in Mecca. Some of those routes are still, they are not just certified, they are free movement routes. The bulk of what you call all these weapons of mass destruction and stuff these guys are testing come from those routes. Okay. And our military has these details.
Okay. Thank you. You've said a lot. Now, a lot here also behoves the electoral umpire to take a very decisive step, in making sure that we have credible elections come 2023. Osage, do you see the INEC body as ready for this massive event that will be taking place next year and next 2 years?
Anyway, if you are to look at the news in recent times, the INEC chairman have repeatedly said they are waiting for the presidency to assent to the new electoral law. Even as of this morning, that has become like a song. Okay, the bill. They are expecting for the bill to be assented to. The electoral amendment bill, electoral amendment bill to be assented to. Up till now, we are still waiting. And the election is by the corner.
The president has between now and the 19th of December. Which is just
it has. But, the reason why I had to bring that into the equation is because we run a system where every system wants to blame one another for their action and inactions. Okay. Now, why did I make that statement? I made that statement because for the electoral umpire, you keep on hearing we are waiting for the electoral bill to be assented to. We are waiting for the electoral bill to be signed. Now, that has become the issue. And one would have wondered, is it that the president have a problem with this bill? If he does, maybe he should identify the areas and send it back to the National Assembly.
Is that not exactly what he's doing? Because he is carrying out thorough investigation.
For how long, sir? How long has he been carrying out? Are you not aware for how long this thing has been in the public discourse?
But he has the time. After all, 19th December is not here yet.
That is where we fail. When we think we can model up everything, then at the end of the day, we crashed. I just told you about an interview that was granted to one of the INEC officials in Anambra. They said part of the reason why we had issues with logistics is because at 9 minutes, core members pull out. They had to just get any hands that were not really trained. Now that's where we are going to again. Because when you say the president have all the time, an election is just less than 2 years, time is going, the electoral empire is telling you we are waiting for that bill. That will determine many other things we are going to tell Nigerians how we are going to play. And to some extent, the president had to some extent, they have a point. And the president had to act promptly on it. Even though we know that the issue of the card reader and what have you have already been said. But the big issue in electioneering is security. Because just look at 70 to 80% of the whole massive voter apathy that characterized the Anambra polls was based on security reports. You see, so we have to put all of these on all of these cards on the table. But you know, let me quickly say that, you know, sometimes Phil, I don't know if these people even listen. You know the reason why I said so. This so-called Boko Haram or bandits, you start asking yourself, are they spirits? Are they spirits that just come from heaven, attack, and let me use our local word, vanished away? Are there no people that stay? Gumi, I think it's Gumi Sheon, this man that always play an intermediary role. I've always said several times, this is where they stay. He has had so-called
so if you know the location, why don't you just go
That's
there?
the point. He has had so many peace meetings with them, where the security agents will have to follow them.
Okay, but,
how are these people getting?
You can't say that they will just be in that location, because by the time they know that, well, their location has been disclosed, they could change.
People don't we know where the bandit is?
Who have been kidnapped. They know where they are.
Let me bring in this point, please. If you starve this Boko Haram for 1 week, they will find their way out of wherever they are. So how do they get their food supply, their water? How do they get their ammunition?
So there seems to be a sabotage.
The military knows where they are. It's just like the military personnel were complaining. They can trace the military, but the military cannot trace them. They keep on. The only thing we hear is they repel Boko Haram. They are repairing while they are killing our military.
Some are saying, why wait to be attacked? Why don't?
That's attack? The point. I say we have now taken the position of the defensive instead of being at the offensive.
Okay, I want you to take it from that point. Okay,
let me land with this point quickly.
Yes.
You see, I also want to drag in the various state governments. They are not innocent in the level of insecurity in their respective states. I want to ask you, you made mention of Benin to Auchi or Ekpoma Road. What does it take to drive bandits or kidnappers away from that road? What will it take the government of the day to build just 50 artificial houses, checkpoints along the road? If I can tell you, if you get 50 Edo boys and pay them 50,000 naira every month, they will sleep along that route, and that will be the end of banditry.
But don't forget about revenue shortfall. Even as we are having reports about not
revenue shortfall, but no security
to pay the police for this month.
Please.
I think we're having issues as we round off on this. Yes.
And follow up to what he said concerning the military or Sheikh Ahmed Guma.
Yeah.
I watched a documentary on TV, Arise News, sometime last month, where citizens, both from Katsina and Zamfara, were complaining that they are unable to go to their farms. They are kidnapped. Where they can't pay ransom, the bandits take them to their farms, acres and hectares of farms, to work for 1 month before they are released. They say when they are released, they go to report to security agencies. Now, these people have communities, they have hectares of land. They keep kidnapping us, but the security agencies are not able to do not take action. I'm talking about the president's own state. It was on Arise TV.
Okay.
So talking about the issue of say repair, sometimes you just think back and you say there must be something that we are not being told.
Yeah.
If a military has renowned, I feel for our military guys, because I see young guys, I see men who are committed to the nation state, who have taken the oath to pay the supreme price. But I just wonder, how could these ragtag people be killing
I think we are pressed for time. Yes. In 1 minute, I have a question for the two of you. In 1 minute, let's look at the Electoral Act Amendment Bill that is still waiting the assent of the president. And there's a clause, I think clause 52, that talks about the direct primary. Now, some say, well, the direct primary, is going to cause a lot of issues, and it costs a lot of money, to fund that. And also, in spite of the insecurity we have, that could also be a setback, to really go on the road of having direct primaries. Do you concur, or do you have a different opinion?
No, I don't.
1 minute, please.
I don't concur. On the issue of the Electoral Act, I don't concur. And you are trying to say that the president have no time. I want to make that to 2019 before I answer the question, please. The 8th Senate, they amended the Electoral Act in 4 different components. It was the president. It delayed until when it was close to 2019 election. He now gave excuse. The elections were too close. It would be difficult to acclimatize to the new rule. They should leave it after the election. After election, he didn't sign it. Now we are on another one. The election is in 2003. So I just hope it's not the same gamut or game that is being played. Now, coming back to that section you talked about, for me, there's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it to the extent that whatever it is that people have complaints about can be managed, especially now that we have so much technology by which things can be done with ease.
All right.
Unfortunately, We are talking about that section because our system is dysfunctional. If we are sure of free and fair election, nobody will bother about saying they should do direct primaries. Anybody can do whatever they want. The masses will make their choice and they will punish those that do anyhow.
Okay.
In quote.
Okay.
But it's because the system is not reliable. That is why they're not taking the long cut.
Okay, Osage got sense. What's your viewpoint in that?
On a very short note, you see, my concern is we need to look at this overspending during elections, whether direct or indirect. I think the problem is there is too much emphasis on money for our electionary processes. And that is another big issue. Because whether direct or indirect, can we have a regulation on spending during elections? I think that will make a whole lot of good.
That's already been tackled by the electoral body.
Yes, but the point, the Senate, but you see, the reason why they are saying, hey, too much money will go into it or whatever, whether direct or indirect, that's not the problem. Okay. We need to have a system that can be well regulated. I think that's my point.
Thank you very much, Osage Godson, for taking our time. I know a lot you would have loved to also share on this. Big thanks, Frank Ehiosun. That's where we call it a wrap on this segment. It's the TMI. Do stay.